What if the air on Earth were twice as dense? Not just damp, not dusty, but twice as saturated with molecules. It might seem like a small thing, but in reality, it would change almost everything. Twice the air means twice the mass. This doesn't just affect the weather or breathing, it literally makes the entire world heavier, from insects to airplanes. To begin with, the pressure at the Earth's surface would be almost as great as at a depth of 10 meters underwater. That is, every breath would become a battle with the atmosphere. The lungs would not withstand it. In such an atmosphere, a person literally could not exhale. The pressure from the outside is stronger than the force of exhalation from the lungs. Exhalation would have to be done mechanically or live in a sealed suit. And that's not all. The dense air creates resistance twice as strong. Walking, running, even just waving your hand becomes like training underwater. The whole world turns into a gym. Speech is almost impossible. Sound, like the body, experiences resistance. Loud words are muffled, as if you were speaking into a pillow. Even screaming does not reach further than a couple of meters. But birds and drones would love it. It's easier to lift weights in thick air. Eagles would hover in the sky like kites, and planes would take off with minimal acceleration. But there are also disadvantages. Everything that has to do with combustion works worse. Fire in dense air is unstable. A fire is extinguished by its own smoke, and a candle blows out by itself. When the air is twice as dense, nature has strange problems. The air has become too heavy even for smoke. Now the smoke does not rise up, but falls back down. Combustion suffocates itself. Fire is not just a flame, it is a chemical engine. To burn, it needs oxygen and a free exchange with the environment. In a dense atmosphere, the flame loses its shape. It literally suffocates. Dense air and sound are incompatible. Twice as many molecules means twice as many collisions. Sound waves are quickly dampened. Even a scream sounds like a dull blow to a pillow. It would look weird at a concert. The band is screaming into the microphones, the speakers are humming, but the audience is just watching. Because no one can hear anything further than 5 meters. But if you're a fly, it's the opposite. Thick air is a paradise for insects. They don't have to flap their wings 200 times a second. Now they can float lazily in the air like jellyfish. Even birds would stop flying, they would hover. Air resistance compensates for gravity. For a sparrow, it's like a parachute that's always open. Now imagine meteorology. Rain doesn't drip now, it slowly descends like a wet gel. Hurricanes? More like a viscous whirlwind of jelly. Thick air isn't a disaster, it's just another planet. It could exist. You'd just never be able to get there without a pump. Twice as dense air is a dream for aviation. Lift is directly related to density. More air means the plane rises faster, at a lower speed, with smaller wings. Even a paper airplane would become a mini drone. And here's where the fun begins. Jet engines operate on pressure differences. The denser the air, the more thrust, but also more drag. A rocket in such an atmosphere is like a rocket underwater, deafeningly loud and almost useless. Cars. Their aerodynamics go crazy. At speeds over 50 kilometers per hour, the car feels like a wall punching through jelly. The drag increases so much that driving on the highway requires an engine like a tank. Even a bicycle becomes a trainer. In the dense atmosphere, you feel like you're riding into a perpetual headwind. You can pedal, but it still feels like you're standing still. But parachutes would be 100 times more effective. With such air density, you could jump from the roof of a garage and land without pain. A person with a parachute turns into a slowly falling leaf. Dense air is a paradise for airships. Their lift increases, but their speed can remain minimal. They hang in the air like furniture in zero gravity. Imagine if trucks flew on air cushions. But even here, not everything is rosy. Any movement is accompanied by sound, and in dense air, sounds are oppressive. A running person makes a roar like a train, and a clap of the hand sounds like a shot in a basement. So the air is twice as dense. The planet would be closer to the ocean than to land. We would live in a slow, booming, dense version of Earth. Beautiful, but completely different. Now imagine sports. Long jumps turn into soaring. Running turns into drilling through the air. The best sprinter in the world runs 100 meters in 40 seconds, and that's with a fan in his back. Life under a dense atmosphere is an eternal slowdown. Even food smells different. The smell molecules don't reach. Bread bakes slowly but heats up evenly. Time flows, but with viscosity. Clothes are no longer needed for warmth. They are now needed to cut through the air. People walk around in aerodynamic suits or just crawl. Internet, books, knowledge, they work. But a voice assistant in dense air is useless. It speaks, but you can't hear. You have to bring the speaker to your ear, like in 1905. But, like everything, you could get used to it. It would be a different world. Slow, thick, but logical, just with different rules. So, maybe we don't need thick air. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to think a little about how much everything around us depends on things we can't even see.